People that wait around for inspiration and motivation lose.
The hardest part is figuring out what you want to master.
Focus on your product.
Can you tell somebody that they suck?
You got to just go for this is exactly what I want to do for a living.
You can't even tell somebody that their breath is life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Short Story Long. We are joined today by a very special guest, someone who is very accomplished, a fellow podcaster, which you all know is my favorite because they know how to follow along on these things really well.
That's right.
And someone who is responsible for motivating a lot of people to be better versions of themselves, which is something that I'm trying to figure out how to do myself. And I'm a huge fan of that skill set of yours. Ed Mylett, thanks for coming and making this happen, man.
Fired up to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. And like I said, like I always, sorry to my listeners, it's repetitive, but I get so excited when there's fellow podcasters on the show because it's just, as you know, I'm sure from doing yours, like it's a different experience when you don't have to like guide someone through the dance, right?
Yeah.
And you can just kind of say,
Yeah.
hey, what's your thing? And you know how to say it. And, you know, we're just straight to the good stuff.
I relate, and that's why I'm going to do it with you when you're on my show.
Can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Let's talk about that real quick, just straight off. Is how long have you been doing your podcast?
Yeah, a year.
A year?
Yeah.
And how overall, we talked about it a little bit before, how's the experience been overall?
Overall, amazing because I've got to talk to all these really fascinating, interesting people, right? So sometimes they'll tell me things that really confirm stuff I already do.
Yep.
But other part of it, man, like I think people's stories are just absolutely fascinating, like where they come from to where they end up. And so I really get into them. Like people are like, man, you're really dramatic in these areas. I'm really enjoying what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's the upside. I love that part. The business part of it, like you and I were talking about, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And that's why I respect what you're doing so much. And the audience just gets to consume it. But I know all of the behind the scenes, all the hours it takes to put these on. So
is that would you say that's the hardest part? Just the putting it together every week?
Yeah. It's the grind of, and by the way, we're blessed. We both have big audiences. And so like you, we're talking off camera, like I really want to put out something good that can help people. Yep. You know what I mean? I want to have good people on that really move people and can teach them things. And so, but the hard part is definitely, this takes an hour and 20 minutes, but not really. Really, it's the booking, it's the time out of it. You're taking the time out of your business, the editing, it's the producing, it's the Instagram clips, it's all that other stuff that goes with it. So, 1 hour is expensive. Number one, this isn't free for you to do. Yeah. And then it's just all the time that goes into it too. But to me, and I know you feel this way too, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, what I'll say too, man, is the one part that's so worth it to me is the value that you get from someone dedicating an hour of their lives to just listen to two people talking to microphones. It's like so much more than like just a really good Instagram post.
100%.
Like it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, well, it's you're embedded in it, right? Like you're immersed in something, right? And the other thing too is, I think even when you have guests, there are really brilliant people who don't know how brilliant they are, and once you make them stop, like you're not driving in your car talking to me right now, you're not on the phone. We're man to man, person to person, talking. Like, what do you really think? Even for me, sometimes stuff will come out, and I'm like, wow, that was good. What the hell? I didn't know I knew that.
I do that too. It's so true.
So that's why I like this environment. Out of an hour and 20, we're at least going to get 3 good minutes out of me today.
I mean, we got a couple fire Instagram clips, if nothing else.
Cool.
Let me ask you this, Ed. Where are you from? Where were you born?
I was born in Boston. Back east, and I look like it. So I kind of have that East Coast look. But when I was really young, my dad moved our family out to California.
How old, roughly?
7. And what was ironic about that is right on the next street down was my future wife.
Really?
Yeah. So
what age did you meet her?
I met her, I saw her the first time when I was in first grade. She was in kindergarten. Wow. She was in kindergarten with my sister.
Did you feel any tingle? Like, did you know?
Big time tingle, because I'll tell you why, too. It's interesting. I went to a school that was mainly all white kids.
Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed. 1 second. Dan, will you hit the clock? Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry for that. Just want to make sure we keep on track here.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. So, yep.
Anyway, yeah, she definitely gave me chills because I went to a school that was mainly all white kids. My wife's half Mexican, but when everyone's white, you look real Mexican, right? So when she came home from school, I told my mom, I said, "There's this little brown girl. I like the little brown girl. I want to marry the brown girl." and
that was in first grade? You said that?
Yeah, no, and I didn't even, that was one of those weird things because I did admit I like girls, and I didn't really like any other girls either. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until a lot older, but we didn't start dating until I was in high school. Yeah. But yeah, I've known her all my life, basically.
That's fascinating.
Isn't
That's
that
like a
crazy?
fairy tale. That's like the dream scenario.
You don't
right?
hear that too much anymore.
You sure
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Okay, so then when you moved here, do you remember any of Boston?
Yeah, big time.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember it because my whole family stayed back there, so we'd go back there and visit, and I'm a huge Red Sox fan, huge Patriots fan.
Yep.
Which really weird growing up in L.A., right? Like being a Celtics fan in L.A., that was
Yeah,
really weird.
Yeah.
So no,
Well,
no,
right now it's not so bad.
right now it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably about to beat the Sixers, we hope. But anyway,
I mean, you
my
got to.
my no, I'm an East Coast dude. Even though I grew up in California, I still kind of think that way, and I think I don't know. We kind of have that intense little thing that you don't have in California when you're sort of chill. I
That's
still
true,
get that
man.
intensity. So
I'm from Ohio. I connect with it.
yeah,
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I got 3 younger sisters.
Uh-huh.
I'm the oldest boy, and I grew up. Hey, my upbringing was, I think every upbringing can be difficult to win, or there's seeds of great things in it too.
Yep.
But I grew up in the middle.
Yep.
So like maybe lower middle, but middle. My mom and I debate this because she's seen me in interviews. She's like, "Were we really lower middle?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, we were lower middle, but lower middle class. Like we weren't super poor where there was no food on the table,
Yeah.
right? But we weren't rich or wealthy by any means, and nobody in my family even ever discussed the concept.
Yep.
Never dreaming, winning, being wealthy. None of that's even like ever a discussion. We never went on a vacation.
Yeah.
Like people say, how many times did you go to Hawaii? I'm like, I never been to Hawaii. We didn't go to the beach. You know what I mean? Like just a very middle class, great family, loving family. But like most families, dysfunction. My dad was an alcoholic.
Yep.
My dad's my best friend, but he's been sober now 30. In fact, he just got like a cake at one of his meetings a couple weeks ago, but he's been sober over 30 years. But while I was in the house,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of chaos, man, a lot of stress. My dad was alcoholic and I think drug addict too for a while, and just stress constantly. Is he coming home?
Yep.
Is he not coming home? A lot of people relate to that. If he comes home, which version am I getting? Is he mad? Is he drunk?
That's a real one.
And I remember every day my dad would walk in the door. I just thought it was normal. My dad would walk in, take his suit coat off, walk over to the liquor cabinet, pour Beefeater's gin into a glass, drink the whole damn glass, pour another glass in, drink another glass, pour another glass, drink another glass, and then like, hey kids, I'm home.
That was the routine.
That was on the good days, right? So I remember thinking everyone's dad comes home and drinks a bunch of whatever's in this Beefeater's thing there.
Yeah, he loves beef.
Yeah.
He's a meat guy.
We're not vegetarians. We drink Beefeaters. So I just remember literally Beefeater's gin. That was my dad's deal.
Wow.
And those were on the good days. So definitely, everybody has some weird shit in their family. There's something, whether it's a crazy relative or whatever. Mine was that kind of dysfunction. So it was not the best place in the world, but it was loving.
Do you think you gained any skill or resilience or anything from those days that paid off later?
Huge.
Yeah.
I gained resilience.
Yeah.
So I gained the one thing that it cheated me out of was being a kid, because I was the oldest boy. My dad would leave because he kind of knew he might be going on one of these things, and he'd go, hey, imagine this East Coast sort of bigger dude, right? My dad was a hockey player. Go, hey, you take care of your mom and sisters when I'm gone, and he may not be back for a day or two, right? So I grew up real young.
Yep.
I mean, I was never this sweet little boy with all these,
Yeah.
I was like, I got to protect my mom and my sisters. I'm the oldest boy,
Yep.
So it grew me up. Also, when you got an alcoholic family member, a lot of people relate to this. Like, you either go one way or the other sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You either kind of follow in their footsteps, or you want to be like a mega achiever.
Can I ask you your opinion?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm kind of cutting you off, but
no, go.
what's your opinion of what makes people go one way or the other? Because
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know that there's always one answer, but for me, it was the meaning I took from the events.
Yeah.
So if your dad's an alcoholic and you go through stress like that, and the meaning is our family's losers, I come from a bad place, then you attach a meaning, you behave like it. The meaning I attached to it is I wanted to make my family proud of me because there wasn't a lot to be proud of. And so I took that adversity. I wasn't like I overcame it. Literally, as a little boy, I remember thinking, I want to make them proud of me. If I do well, maybe my dad will stop drinking. The times I'd see my dad happy is when I hit a home run or I brought home an A. So I started linking achieving to making them happy to things getting better, right?
Yeah.
So almost always in life, it's not the event that happens to you, it's the meaning you take from the event, right? So, and I have this big overriding theory that sounds corny, but like, I promise you it works. Life happens for you, not to you. And that's always true in hindsight. You look back at anything in your life that was really difficult, man, in hindsight, you're like, man, that was actually kind of good because it made me do this, or I dropped them out of my life, or we moved here and that led to this and this and that and the other thing. The key thing to being happy and productive is being able to see that as it's happening, be able to find the right meaning now as it's happening. My dad now's got cancer, for example. He's in chemo, right? What the hell is good about that, right? But if I got to find why is that happening for me, I'll be honest with you, man, it's all kinds of good crap that's come from it. It's not overall good, but there's good that came from it. My time with him's precious. I appreciate my own time, my own life, my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
It shrinks that, makes you kind of face your own death a little bit. So not to be really deep with you, but
No, that's what I want.
but honestly, it's the meaning you take from events. That's what chooses your direction. Because once you take the right meaning, then you make decisions based on that meaning. And so someone breaks up with you. What does it mean? You're a loser. You're not worthy. Or does it mean a meaning that can empower you?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's always the meaning you take from the event.
Yeah. And do you find yourself, because I think a lot of people look at people like you who are extremely successful and you look successful, big, strong guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have to exercise that quality? You have to remind yourself.
Wow. Good question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that one thing that happens is people draw a barrier between themselves and successful because they say, he just has something I don't. And what they don't learn is that people like you still have to buckle down. Usually, I mean, I'm kind of answering the question.
100%.
And like remind yourself, shit, this seems terrible. What is good in this situation?
What is good in it? And like, especially like even you talking about like being in shape or whatever. On top of that, as a little kid, I had all these like I was really little. So I was a baseball player, but I'm always the dude in the sign, holding the sign up in the front of the picture in the Little League pictures. You know that dude, the really, really little dude?
Yeah.
I'm holding up, 1979 Pirates or whatever it was,
Well, I wonder what the strategy is for picking that kid.
I know, it's horrible. I mean, every single picture, I'm holding the damn sign, right, in the front row. But I was bullied because of my size, Eddie Spaghetti, my parents introduced me as a shy kid all the time. So because I was so little, I think as I got older, I'm like, I want to build my body up.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this identity of being this smaller dude.
Yeah.
And so when you find somebody who's got something done pretty good, they've got reasons for it. Their reasons are bigger. So I'm in pretty good shape because I had big reasons to get fit. I have some decent self-confidence because I came from such a place of being so freaking insecure. I had to find techniques and strategies, which we could talk about a little bit, that helped me build my self-confidence because it didn't come naturally to me. It wasn't happening in my house. It wasn't happening at school. There wasn't anything special about me. And so I had to find, like, how do you develop self-confidence? How can I get stronger? And so it's usually when someone's really good at something, it's by necessity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just the part that fascinates me as I've kind of grown and evolved, especially over the last few years, is that it's just opened my eyes so much to the fact that these are tools just like going to the gym, just like studying math, just like a lot of the pointless shit we learn in school.
Yep.
And it just is like, for some reason, we don't teach it.
We
We don't, I wish there was fine, give me all the weird classes that I had to take in high school, but then give me one about mindset.
About life.
Or one about,
I
like
know.
how to deal with life.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd love an accounting class also to know what the hell taxes are.
Yeah.
But like, at least give me a mindset, how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's why it's interesting. My son's got really, really high GPA. And I wish that had any prediction where his life's going to be. And by the way,
Zero.
kids listening to this, I want you to get good grades because it's indicative of hard work and all that, right? But there's actually no correlation between how well you do in high school in classes that are meaningless and how you do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like my valedictorian is not the most successful dude from my high school.
And some argue negative side effects because it teaches you how to perfectly follow rules.
Well, that's a fact, man. There's a debate in my house all the time, right? Well, there's a different, by the way, here's the biggest thing that it does.
Mm-hmm.
I think school teaches people, this is huge, man. I think school teaches people that like learning's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Like learning, right? Well, no, actually working and applying. So knowledge in and of itself isn't powerful unless it's applied.
Mm-hmm.
And so school doesn't make you apply anything. It just makes you test on it. And so, yeah, you want to learn. Yeah, you want to grow. But like information is pretty readily available nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like 20 years ago, the dude with the best info won.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is like I can get info about anywhere on Google now.
Yep.
What separates me is my ability to execute.
Mm-hmm.
Is my vision, is my work ethic, is my ingenuity, not necessarily just what I learn. And so these schools program is like, just learn, just learn, just learn. No, you have to be actively working at something like this great company you've built, right? The separator isn't just necessarily what you know. The separator is how you execute, how you work, how you innovate, how you move things, right? And that's what school doesn't teach us how to do at all.
And man, I've met some really stupid
Me too.
executors
Yes.
that are real successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
and
true.
happy as can be.
Absolutely, bro.
You know?
There is like I know really smart people that have won, like really brilliant people that have won, and I got a bunch of really brilliant friends who have not won at anything. They just know a bunch of stuff, man.
Yeah, and I feel like in today's day, like you can very easily become like a professional podcast listener or a professional YouTube viewer,
Yep.
and you can recite any Gary Vee vlog that you've ever seen.
It's a
but
fact,
man, you gotta just. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
That's
Fascinated. What is it that makes people actually apply
Yep.
in reality and kind of run through it in their mind?
It's their identity. Though.
Yeah.
What it is your identity. So you're going to get out of your life. This sounds really hokey, but here's the deal. I mean, I've watched this in my own life, and everybody that I coach, or the athletes I coach, or business people that I work with, entertainers, whoever it is, man. Your identity governs your whole life. There's a thermostat right there on the wall, right? That sucker sets the temperature for this room. It's the temperature setter for the room. And so your identity, by the way, is like the ideas, concepts, and worth you hold for yourself is your identity. You will do everything in your life consciously and unconsciously to produce the temperature you think you're worth. So everyone thinks it's external. So like that thermostat, let's just say it's pretty cool in here. Say it's 72 degrees, right? If we opened up these windows right here and a bunch of hot air blew in, meaning just in life, hot is good, right? Well, that thing's going to cool the room right back down to 72 degrees. That governs it, not the external heat. The reverse is also true. If we open the door and freezing cold air came in here, life started to get bad and you're broke and someone broke up with you and you're hurting or sick, you find a way to turn the heater back on to 72 degrees. And so the governor of your life is that identity. Not the hot stuff that starts. We've all had it happen. Life's going good, man. You're making more money. Business deals are clicking. Things are great. And all of a sudden your car breaks down. You get a bill that pays. You miss a meeting. It all seems like circumstantial, except you found a way to cool it right back down, right? Or it will reverse. Things suck. You're behind on orders. Business isn't going good. Someone dumped you. All of a sudden, 6 months later, you've heated it back up again. The question is, can you change that temperature setting in your life to 80, to 100, to 200? That's what changes your life, is that identity on that thermostat.
So I have to ask I will say one thing is I feel like I've learned a lot in my life from addicts, meaning a lot of times, and I know it's a sensitive topic, but I think that a lot of times addicts are very magnified versions of the same things that we all face, right? And the same example that you just said is like, I know addicts that have been on top of the world. I mean, making millions of dollars. Life is great. Family's great. Everything's great. And that is the moment that you go back to using, go on a week-long bender, and you throw it all away. And it's like it fits perfectly into that point. I've never heard it explained that way, but it's just an extreme. We all do the same thing in many ways.
We do it more subtly. An addict does it dramatically. You're like, oh my God, he's back using. Boom, he blew his family out, right? It's dramatic with an addict. Addicts are another good example of something too, because you're 100% right. And by the way, I have a fascination with addiction because of my dad, right? And I really believe this, like we're all addicts. Our obsessions become our possessions. We really do acquire what we're most obsessed with. So if you're obsessed with your worries and your stresses and your problems, you will find a freaking way to obsess on them, and you'll eventually possess them. Same with the things you want. People think that's corny, but I'll give you an example. An addict. Addicts take all different kinds of forms, but we could go out on the street here. And by the way, I want to make sure that people understand this. Not everybody that lives on the street is an addict. They've got mental illness, or some people actually chosen to live there. But if we found an addict that was living on the street, no job, no income, no source of money, they find a way to get their drug, don't they? You find a way. If you're obsessed with something enough, regardless of the conditions, and addicts are the perfect example. They can have no money, no resources, been locked up before. Everyone knows they're trying to get it. They could be in support me, but if they want that drug bad enough with no resources, no nothing, they find a way to get it. That's how humans are when they get obsessed with something. So don't tell me you can't win. Don't tell me you can't build your company. You can't get the person you want or the money you want. If you want it like an addict, bad analogy, but true, you want it like an addict needs their fix, you'll find a way to get it. That's how human beings are.
Okay, so I have to ask the obvious question, and it's a little ahead, and we'll go back in the story, but how do you change the temperature of your room?
Great question. Main one's through association. So let's use money, for example. If I'm a 200 degreer and you're a 50 degreer, and we hang around each other constantly, I will find through our association, I will heat you up somewhere in between the two of us to about 125. If you layer in another person, associations is how you heat up. Everyone goes, hey, you're really the product of the 5 people you hang around. No one really knows why the hell that is, okay? It is because their identities influence yours. So the most highest form of influence in the world is friend. And so and you know this, you've already watched this in your life. As your life started to accelerate, you kept your buddies from before. I don't believe in dumping people, but you added other people to your mix that changes your identities, what you believe you're worth. So that's the main way, is through association. The second way is by doing a freakish amount in a small period of time you've never done before. So if you just do a whole bunch of phone calls, business, working out, whatever it is, but you shift it in a short one, you go boom, all of a sudden it's like a new water line. All of a sudden it's not 75, it's 82. Now you could vary it a little bit, but doing short bursts of something in short windows of time can shift everything about you and what you expect you're worth and deserve, and you don't go back again. We've all seen that in something. Like everyone listening to this, if they're over 30 years old, probably has more money than they did when they were 20, or more income. For the most part, they do. The reason is there was some short windows where they made leaps and they never went back to being that person from before. So that's how we change identity, short bursts of activity. And then the third way is through just changing our self-confidence. And the way you change your self-confidence is by keeping the promises you make to yourself, not other people. Self-confidence is self-trust. So like when I meet a dude like you that's self-confident, you do it in a real humble, real quiet way. I got other guys who express it real loud. I coach athletes who are, you know what they all have in common? They self-trust. They've started to build a reputation with themselves where they keep the promises they make to themselves, so they're not so damn concerned with what everybody else thinks about them.
Yeah.
That's self-confident. When you're really concerned about haters or what other people think about you, that's the symptom. The disease is you don't like yourself. You don't trust yourself. So you're looking for that validation from someone else. Dudes like you, we're concerned with what people say, but it doesn't really impact us because we have self-trust. So self-confidence, keeping the promises you make to yourself, what time you're going to get up in the morning, how you're going to treat people, what time you get to work, little basic things. If you do them and you're aware of them. So not only do I do these things, I give myself credit for them. Hey, I got to the gym when I said I was going to. I made the phone calls to say today I said I was going to make. And you start stacking day after day of keeping promises you make to yourself and being aware of them, you shift your self-confidence, then your identity changes. Because, can I say one thing on that?
Please.
Because you only will get out of life what you think you're worth. So Malcolm X has this great quote. Says that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. It's hard to accept that we're getting out of life right now what we accept and what we'll tolerate and what we think we're worth. Now, bad people, this is what's a trip. I've watched it too. Bad people, unethical people can exceed their self-worth short term. They'll just take, right? But good people, it's like if there's a good person, then we brought a pizza out and there's like 3 good people in the room. We don't go rush and take all 10 pieces. We want to make sure everybody else gets what they deserve, right? So good people will never take more from the table of life than they think they're worth. So you have to shift what you think you're worth, or you'll keep taking from the table. Even if you had a better job, better career, better opportunity, better friends, but you still think you're only worth or deserve a certain amount, that's all you'll take.
It's interesting too, because I know people that will hide behind being a good person for a lack of achievement, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So they'll sit and they'll get all the pizza taken time and time again. And they will actually become bitter and angry and unhappy, but they'll say, everyone else is messed up.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm the only good person here, and that's why I'm unhappy.
Yeah, that's called being self-righteous, right? Like, right. Like they'd rather be right than win. And there has to be a point in your life where you want to win. Like you got to want to win. And the fact of the matter is you're getting what you think you're worth.
That's fascinating. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go all the way back. This is fucking incredible. You move at that young of an age.
Yeah.
Was that difficult in any way? Was it new? Was it exciting? How did you take that?
The move wasn't difficult for me because I was young enough when it happened that it didn't impact me. Not that I remember. What was difficult for me, like anybody else, was walking into school the first day with a screwed up family life at home. And I'm probably exaggerate that, man. Like my parents hear this, like, were we that screwed up? No, but when you're a little kid, it feels screwed up, right? So, and it was, I guess the way I would word it is just being different. So people feel this all the time. Like, and there's more extreme examples. If you walk into a school and you're a different ethnicity or a different religion or whatever. But for me, it was, I was smaller than everybody. I talked really funny from Boston. I say cod, pack, and the kids would tease me about how I talked, right? And I didn't dress cool, you know. Back east is always behind like 3 or 4 years on what's cool to wear to school, you know. And so I think just all that combined. Then I'd get home and my dad had his stuff, and so I just kind of grew up in stress. To be honest with you, man, I just grew up in stress. That's what it was for me. My version of it, anyway. What were you into at a young age? Like sports? Baseball. I played baseball. That was the one sport I could play and not be big. Right. And
were you any good?
I was, and I ended up playing in college, Division I. I got a chance to go play professionally for a little bit after that. And so I found something that I was good at, which was I was a good baseball player. Now, I played with enough great players to know that I was not major league great. But I was minor league good, and I was really good Division I player in college. So that's where I started to figure out, oh, hey man, I can outwork everybody and start. You know, I can get there earlier, leave later, like work out harder than everyone else and make it in spite of my size.
Is that where that started? Like you think that you kind of realized early in that aspect that you had to work harder than everyone else to succeed? And
every element of me that I've used in business, I used in sports. And it's not just the work harder and all that other stuff. It's also like finding coaches, finding mentors. Like one big thing for me is like, I like coaching. Like, I don't take it personally if you go, hey, man, like, your feet aren't spread out enough. Like, I wanted to hit better. So, like, hey, you're dropping your elbow or whatever, right? Like, I wanted coaching. I'm amazed by the amount of people that take coaching as criticism or take it personally.
One thing that blows my mind is the amount of benefit that you can get off of like a life coaching type thing, or even a therapy type situation, however you want to word it. But we don't care when it's our baseball swing. We care when it's our day-to-day life.
It's weird.
And
People-
that's so important.
Yeah, and that's like the best people I know. Like, I don't know about you, but like my really good friends, they're all really self-aware people. Like, they kind of know what they're not so great at, and they want to help. They want to get better. Like, I don't hang around a lot of people anymore, man, that like don't want to get better. I just don't. Like, they're a waste of time to me. They're not interesting to me. Like, I like dudes that are like you. Like, I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in this space as like a help people, personal development, life coach, whatever you want to call that whole thing. But the fact is, I'm doing it from trying to figure it out myself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I'll tell you what I figure out as we go.
Yeah, it's
That's
so
how I am.
true. I haven't done it extensively, but I will say the little bit of like coaching that I've done, it really opened my eyes to like, man, we are so sensitive to being told that we're lazy. Like, you're not getting up in time in the morning. You're not getting up as early as someone who achieves the way you want to achieve wakes up.
Yeah.
That's like, well, fuck you, dude.
Right.
Like, I don't, what do you mean? Like, do you know how stressed out I am? You know what I mean? But if it's like, yo, your baseball swing is a little low, and, you know, you're like, okay, cool, I'll work on that.
It's amazing,
It's
right?
crazy.
And like, it's how you, like, you got to want to get better more than you care about what people think about you. There's like, here's the number one crusher of people in the world today. Social media has hurt this, although social media is great. Is like, people are like literally addicted to people's approval.
Yeah.
Like, how many likes did I get? What do you think? And like, we all say that, but like, it's everywhere. People are really sensitive about stuff, right? You have a huge advantage if you just drop your addiction to what everybody else thinks about what you're doing. Because at the end of your life, like, to me, this is an analogy. Like, your life is like a story, like a movie or a play, right? Like, you're the lead fucking character. And there's like 2 or 3 other people that really mean something to you that are like the best supporting this. If you ever go to a movie, the end of the movie, you watch the credits long enough, at the end it's like cab driver number 2, bouncer number 1,
So
you know?
true.
And people spend their whole lives obsessing about what bouncer number 1 thinks instead of the lead 3 or 4 characters that you're doing it for. Now, I will say this, in a lot of people's lives, even the people right around you are the ones criticizing you all the time.
Yeah.
But you control the damn script. You and God, if you have faith, you're writing the script. You're the authors of the script of your life. And at any time, man, like, this sounds hokey, but like, I do this all the time. At any time, I'm like, oh, you know what? New script.
Yeah.
Who am I now?
Yeah.
What am I doing now? I like flip the page and start writing it.
Yep.
Not enough people do that. You're worried about cab number 2.
So true. So true. So then through high school, through those years of your life, what did life look like through that? Like, is it still dad
Average.
still drinking?
Dad got sober when I was a junior in high school.
Got it.
Yeah.
You're really excelling at baseball.
Yeah, I was a good baseball player.
Found a home there, found like some self-worth there, some
Bingo.
achievement there, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
wasn't a great student, but I was a good baseball player.
Yep. Sisters, how are they doing? Great?
All my sisters, you know, it's funny. I have a family with such like tremendous dysfunction. All 4 of us turned out reasonably good.
Yeah.
All of us are on our first marriage,
Yeah.
which is, my parents are on theirs too. They're all really good moms, really good. We're all really close. They all live within like a mile of each other where I used to live too. So, no, man, I think if you watched me as a kid, you wouldn't go, hey, that guy's going to be a multimillionaire. I don't think you'd have thought that.
Yeah.
I think you'd have thought I was like Eddie Mylett, kind of an average dude.
Yeah.
You know, I went from being extremely ridiculed and goofy, and I had worked my way up to average by the time I got out of high school.
Yeah.
I think
But,
that's
like,
how I describe it.
Killed yourself. To
Yeah,
be
like just
average.
kind of a dude, you know,
Yeah.
like if you went back, like I have had some stuff where people are like, what the hell happened to you, dude? This is crazy.
Yeah.
I'd have never seen this for you. Thank you, man. There was literally nothing special about you.
It's so true, man. I
And
know
it's
the
a fact.
feeling.
It's really true. They're like, you? Like, okay, man. You
All
know?
right, we'll take it. What about high school, like socially? Did you start to fit in more in any crowd, or were you still always a little on the outskirts?
I'd say I was average again. Like, I had my girlfriend who's now my wife, you know, and I had, like most people, I had 3 or 4. I was not popular. I was never homecoming king, never the prom, anything like that. I mean, like, again, everything about me was pretty damn average. I moved away from being goofy probably to average. Like, I came from an average family, average for terms of income and achievement family, like extraordinary in a lot of ways. And my family's awesome. Like, my dad's like a dude, man. My dad's a stud. My parents believe in me. My parents aren't surprised by things that have happened. You know, I always knew they believed in me. I always encouraged me. Parents didn't criticize me a lot. I didn't come from an environment where, like, You know what I mean? Like you take away the drinking thing, we had a pretty good family. You know what I mean? So it's complicated. It's like any family. There's good and bad in it. But now there was nothing about me young, I don't think, where you'd go. By the way, I'm not very communicative either. I hated public speaking. Always, even to this day, like once I leave here, like I'm on a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel the same way.
Yeah, like, and it drains my energy even a little bit. Like I love people, so I have to force myself to communicate because I'm naturally extremely introverted. If you were to pick any of my really good friends right now, they'd say Eddie is by far our most shy friend to this day.
That's so important to hear. Not only for me personally, I'm really glad you said that, but like even for all the introverts out there or the people that don't. Like I feel, one thing I was going to say about podcasting is it's a lot of work to book the guest, and sure, it's a lot of work to prepare and all that stuff, but for some reason it seems like as much as I get out of it, an hour of podcasting is not equal to an hour of like emails and things in my control.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
There's something about like, I got to be like, all right, here we go.
I'm on.
And we're on.
Yeah. Like I did an interview this morning before we came over here. And I'll be honest with you, man, I have to be so on that coming over here today, I was like, whew, I hope I have this twice because it does take a lot out of me. I was, like if we're on the road, like I'll beg my wife, can we get room service? Even going into public restaurants and stuff. Like if we're at a mall and it's, I knew you from high school, since we're talking about high school. If I saw you way down in the distance, I'd duck into a store. And it's weird because I'd love to talk to you. Yeah. But I just have this thing about me, or like, I'll give you crazy things about me. If I walk into a hotel lobby and there's a crowd in the lobby, I will literally walk around. That's to this. I've spoken in front of millions of people, 50,000 at a time. I will walk around that crowd of people, not to have to interact, to go to the other side, the long way around. I'll take different floor. Like I'm extremely introverted that way. When we walked in the door today, Ben, who's with me, I said, Ben, you walk in first. Yeah. You walked in the door first, didn't I? It's like I just have this that dude who I grew up being when I was a little boy is still always right there. Yeah. And I got to know he's there. And so I'm super shy, super introverted, and I've kind of convinced myself I'm going to function as a person who's always got that dude sitting there. Yeah. Because I'm real quiet.
And would you say that your way of managing that is you sort of are aware, like we said, like that self-awareness that exists, and you know when you need to turn it on, and then you accept when it needs to be off. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Because I find myself sometimes like, and this is one-on-one, like we're life coaching now, is I have learned like you need to turn it on when you need to turn it on, but sometimes I feel like I don't allow myself to have it off when it's off. Like I'm like, you can't be like this. You can't walk around like you gotta face this. If this is the person you want to be.
Yep. And
you gotta walk through that crowd, or you gotta, you know what I mean?
There's an element of that. There's also like the other thing, like I'll give you the upside for introverts. I'm comfortable with myself. I like being alone. I don't mind sitting alone. I like thinking. I like having my own thoughts. So yes, listen, I don't know that it's necessarily bad. So you know what shocks me when I meet a dude like you, and I know you're going to say the same thing. Our really successful friends, even ones that are like in public, how many of us share this? Yeah. Like I would say the majority of people that I know that are even in front of cameras regularly are pretty introverted people. Now, I have some really great friends, and it's funny is a lot of people I like to attract to me are extroverts, and the reason is because they can handle all the work and all the entertaining. We're at a party, and I can kind of be chill. So true. Like I love having my really funny buddies with me because they love this, be the star of the show. Yeah. And I love laughing and watching. And the other thing is like the reason introverts are good at this, I really love listening. Yep. So I'd rather listen to somebody. That's why this is work. Yep. I'd really rather be listening to what you think about these things. So true. Because I already know what I think.
Oh, yeah. When I come on yours, I'm going to be sweating. You know?
Exactly.
Right now, I get to.
Yeah, you get the easy part, I think. So, like, I love listening to people, man. I love people. I love observing them. And the other thing is, like, I don't think I know everything. Like, I want to learn from them. Like, the growth part is like, oh, he just gave me something there. I got something from that dude. So that's how I deal with it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think there's a lot of people give themselves a self-imposed death sentence because they're introverts. And I think you watch TV and you listen to podcasts, and once again, from afar, you say, oh, that's not me.
You do. Happy people, for the most part, figure out what their giftedness is, not their deficiency. So, like, they figure out their giftedness, and, like, they live their life and do their business and their fun in their life using that gift. So, like, my gift, ironically, it looks like it's talking, but it's actually listening. So like, I don't want to be on all the time because my gift is to listen, is to, and by the way, is also to make people feel listened to and like validated and understood, right? So
Yep.
that's a gift to be introverted.
Yep.
It's not a detriment to be an introvert.
Yeah.
I got to turn on the other from time to time. I don't think it's a bad thing to be introverted.
Yeah. True.
To be reflective.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes time to go to college, you knew you were going to go to college and play baseball, right?
I did.
Did
I
you
hope
ever-
so.
Did you ever think that you were maybe going to go pro?
Yeah.
Or did you, was that like kind of your life dream
That
at
was
that
the dream.
point? Okay.
100%.
Got
Like
it.
never even consider doing anything else.
So no business, none of this stuff.
No business. I was a broadcasting major. Actually, I was a public relations major in college, but I had a broadcasting show, so I didn't have to take all the hard classes.
Yep.
So, no, I was going to play baseball.
Yep.
That was it. That's everyone else thought I was going to do. It's what I thought I was going to do. And so I really had an interesting moment in my life because, like most people, my first dream crashed and ended, right? And then, like, now where are you? You know, you have your first dream relationship or you get divorced. Now where are you? Your first business fails. Now where are you, right? You know, you go to get your master's, now you can't get a job. Now where are you? So my first dream crashed and burned, literally. And
What was
that
the
was a
crash?
difficult time. I was getting released.
Yep.
I knew I was getting released. It's funny. I have this recurring dream. I was just telling someone this yesterday just for interest. I'm 47 years old and I still have a recurring dream. And by the way, I've had it so many times that when I'm in it, I know I'm having it and I still can't get out of the dream.
Oh,
It's a
man.
nightmare.
How trippy.
And here's what the dream is. I'm fully in my uniform. Okay. And I'm outside I was a leadoff hitter and I can hear the announcer going, starting in center field, number 8, Eddie Mylett. And the crowd's clapping, but I can't get in the stadium. I can't find a way in the door. There's no door in. I can hear the crowd cheering. They've called me to my position, and I'm stressed out of my mind because I can't get on the field, right? And I'm 47. I've made pretty good money in my life. I've traveled the world. I've had great. Still, that dream ending still gets me in my nightmares. Is that crazy? I just had it again the other night. I'm like, crap, I'm in it, and I can't get out of this dream.
Have you ever tried to
Yes.
what's
I've tried to wake up. I've tried to analyze. I've tried to figure it out. It's like I just accept because I knew my last game when it happened. It was like slow motion. It was a pop up to the shortstop, and I remember him catching the ball, and I was in center field behind him. I remember running in, and it was like everything was in slow motion. I was like, this dream is. And I literally had flashes like little league home runs and batting practice with my coach and rain delays, and I was literally flashing. I was like, this whole thing is ending right now. It was like massive moment for me.
Yeah.
Any former athlete, any former dream, you know, when you're married, whatever it is, like, man, it was emotional and depressing. And I went into a depression after it.
So, in that moment, because this was going to be my question, but I think you just answered it, is the first thing that hit your mind wasn't, this is happening for me.
No, not at that time.
It was happening straight to you.
It was happening straight to me, man. And lost. Like, talk about identity.
Yeah.
My identity was a baseball player. There was no other identity for me. I had to go build one and develop one. I didn't have one.
And what do you, so you finished college? Is that how that works?
Yeah,
You
I
finished
finished
college, but then you just kind of like, okay, this
Yeah,
thing's
I didn't
set.
even walk at graduation. I couldn't even tell you where the copy of my degree is.
Yep.
You know, I did do it, but I never used it.
How long was the downside?
I'd say a
darkness?
year. I mean, I'll tell you what happened. I moved back in with my parents. This is where life was happening for me, not to me, though. So I moved back home with my parents, same bed, same posters on the wall, same teddy bear, unemployed, pretending to try to find a job. I'm old enough now, like most people don't know this, but like I would highlight literally of my day was who was the daddy on Maury Povich. Like literally, dude, 4 o'clock, Channel 5.
Yep.
You are not the father. You know, that whole deal. Yeah. I mean, I literally would be, that was where my life had gone to.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved that time of day.
Yep.
Right after Judge Judy. Anyway, it's a true story.
I know it.
My dad's getting more and more pissed. My dad's sober now, but he's going to these AA meetings. My dad comes home for a meeting, goes, hey, you get your ass up in the morning. I got you a job at McKinley in San Dimas. I'm like, what's McKinley? He goes, I don't have any freaking idea, but you show up there tomorrow morning. This guy, Tim, at the meeting got you a job. Next morning, I get dressed. I go over there, 6 a.m. I walk in, and what McKinley is it's a group home, but it's like a campus of group homes for boys that are all orphaned or wards of the court. They're removed from their families, incarceration, molestation, whatever.
Yep.
But I don't know that at the time. I have no idea what it is. No preparation for this at all. I walk in, I go, hey, I'm here for the job. So they go, what job? I'm not BSing you. This is what happens. And they go, I go, I don't know. They go, well, what's your name? I said, Eddie Mylett. We go, we got nothing here for you. Who's hiring you? I go, I don't know. And they go, well, come back when you know. And I'm walking the door. I go, well, his name's Tim. They're like, No, there's a lot of Tims. And I go, well, I know he's an alcoholic. They go, oh, drunk Tim.
Oh,
That's
man.
Cottage 8. You need to be at Cottage 8. Okay. Everyone knew drunk Tim.
Yep.
And I showed up to the cottage, and the second I walk in, man, life altered. I mean, I'm telling you, like, altered. And what happened was I walk into this cottage, and these eyes are looking back at me. My boys were all 8 to 10 years old. Actually, I had a 7-year-old, too. 12 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these eyes that I have. Anybody who comes from a family with a little bit of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we're a little different, man. And they just want to be loved, man, and believed in. And so I ended up being their dad, their brother. I was there for Christmas. I was there for holidays. I was there every day when they came home from school.
Yeah.
And it changed my life because all of a sudden I went from being this ego-driven athlete, going to be rich, going to win, all of a sudden it was about contribution and serving and helping these kids. And I went, oh, shit, I love this.
Yeah.
I love helping them. I love making a difference. I love believing in people. I love me contributing to them. Like, oh, my God, I love this, right? And what was crazy is life was happening for me, not to me. Give you an example. I don't get if my dad's not an alcoholic, excuse me, he's not at an AA meeting, he doesn't find me this job.
Yep.
And if my dad didn't drink when I was a kid, I couldn't have connected with these boys like I wanted to.
Yep.
So both of my dad's drinking is what actually changed my life for the better in hindsight. If he doesn't, because here's what happened. Well, I worked there. 2 years later, the financial company that I now work with recruited me part-time. And I went into the business world different than I would have. Before I'd have gone into business, I'm going to crush, I'm going to slay, we're going to get rich. Failure. I went into business like, I want to help.
Yep.
I want to contribute. I want to believe in people. I want to coach them. I want to mentor them. I want to lift people up. And at like 23, that's not a normal 23-year-old thought.
Hell
right?
no.
And it all shaped and formed me at McKinley Home for Boys in San Dimas, California. And I ain't there if my dad wasn't an alcoholic. So it all happened for me. Crazy.
I'll tell you another thing is like people don't, maybe that's, I'm sure you probably tell people this, but like when you're kind of down and out and addicted to Maury Povich, you don't think to go help out somewhere.
You don't.
You think, I need money.
You got it.
Money, money, money. What's the best paying job I can get for what an hour? You don't think like, well, you know what? I'm going to go. And man, that's interesting.
The two things that I tell people, brother, your insights are freaking bananas good, by the way.
I'm learning. It's crazy.
Well, I think you know a lot of this, but the two anecdotes to this stuff, I'm just telling you, everyone thinks this is corny, is what you just said. The first one is gratitude. So while I was broke, I went to lunch with a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you grateful for?" I'm like, "Dude, shut the nothing, dude. Things suck. No BS." As I'm in there, never forget this. Actually, I got to make sure I don't get a little choked up. But as I'm literally uttering this stupidity back at him, 2 women and a dude walk in this restaurant. Both of the women have like knit caps on and are obviously looked to me like they were in chemo or had cancer.
Yep.
And they walked by us really slow, very gray skinned, stopped at our table, smiled at us, said hello, blah, 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 and then walked by. And he looks at me and goes, "You got nothing to be grateful for, dickhead?" I'm like, oh, jeez, dude. And from there, I was like, literally that day, I was like, I got to start taking inventory. I am grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful. And all of a sudden, because of that, there's a part of your brain called the RAS, which we probably won't get into. Your brain starts to seek what you're looking for. All of a sudden, I started seeing other stuff I was grateful for, right?
Is that the same reason why when you talk about a red Corvette, all of a
Yes.
sudden you see all the red Corvettes?
Brother, so we will. Let's do this real quick.
Yeah.
There's a brain matter, some nerves at the front of your brain called the reticular activating system, not to bore people, but it's what keeps us sane. Keeps you sane. I didn't know this at the time. I was just like, these 2 ladies have cancer. I should be grateful. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Right. But now I know, after I've had the therapy we talk about and studied this stuff and wanted to help people, what it does, it keeps you sane. So you don't feel the blood rushing through your left ear, all these, you go crazy if you saw or embraced everything. So it only reveals to you what's important to you. That's how your brain works. And so once you buy a blue Corvette or red Corvette, let's say, all of a sudden you see them all over the road everywhere. Everyone's experienced this when they bought a new car. They were always there, but now you could be on the right lane going the wrong way on the freeway. The other side of the freeway, you see another red Corvette. They were always there. Why do you see them now? Because they pass your RAS. They're important to you. Okay? So all of a sudden, now that gratitude was important to me, serving people, number 2, was important to me. Now I'm seeing all these places to be grateful for and people that I could serve, because prior to that, it wasn't important to me. What was important to me was I was broke. So I'd see more of it. What was important to me is how starving I was. I'd see more of it. People were taking advantage of me. People were letting me down. So I'd see more of them. People think this is like mumbo jumbo, corny shit. Forget it. It's not even mindset. It's actually how your brain's designed. So if someone tells you that's positive thinking, they're wrong. This is actually the design of your brain. So why not take control of that and start to push into yourself that what's important to you? And the more you repeat a thought, repeat a vision, the more that RAS goes, ooh, red Corvettes. And it starts to see them, sees opportunities, sees good people, sees resources, sees all these different blessings for you because you've programmed it. That's why you really do get what you see. Like if you really do, people think people suck and they take advantage of you. That part of the world is revealed to you over and over and over again. It's a freaking fact. That's why when you get to the other side, like neither you nor me feel like we're on the other side yet, but other people think we are. And our sort of existence, what we think about, what we see, people go, man, you get lucky. You get lucky. No, I'm kind of looking for this stuff, man, so I see it. The same opportunity drove right by you, but you don't see that red Corvette because you're obsessed with your problems. You're obsessed with what you're worried about. So taking control for what you want and what's important to you, it's a filter. It filters the world for you. All of a sudden, you truly will begin to see things differently. It's a fact.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I did want to touch on it, because I think that a lot of people would look at this stuff and say like, oh, that is mumbo jumbo, hippy dippy stuff. But like, it is science. It's your brain.
It's a science. I'll give you an example how it can apply for an athlete. My son's a golfer. Dude, he has what I call rabbit ears. Any freaking noise this dude hears in the middle of a backswing. Tiger Woods has this problem too, right? So, but literally, it could be a bird chirping 6 holes away. My son's gonna be like, oh God, who made that noise? You know, it screws up his swing. Whereas someone who's not obsessed with hearing these noises doesn't hear the bird chirping and executes the golf swing. So it's also, these are things that can distract us too, right? Like you have to take control of your thing because it affects your performance and everything that you do.
Yeah. I'll say one thing that's funny. This happens with, I grew up skateboarding. I was obsessed with skateboarding. And one thing that us skateboarders do is, so like when you go skate, I'm sure you've seen it driving around and stuff. People are jumping down stairs and going down handrails and stuff like that. You see the world as a skate spot. So you'll be driving and you'll be like, oh my God, look at that set of stairs. And a normal person will be like, what?
What a great example.
Like, look at that set of stairs. And like, we used to literally drive, we would stop the car, get out and say, oh my God, this is a perfect hand railing going down it, you know? And it's like, you just see the world differently. Everything is essentially like your court. And it either fits or it doesn't. And
can I steal that? Can I
1,000,000%.
Dude, that's a way better example.
It's fascinating.
It's
awesome.
Fascinating. Yeah, that is fascinating. Wow.
So how long did you work at the boys' home?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And did you end up going and getting another job? How did you make any money, or how did you do that?
I made $6 an hour there, which was a long time ago, but it was minimum wage then. That gives you an idea of how old I am. But no, my financial business came along in the second year, and I stayed part-time at both places. So I worked like 2 jobs for quite a while. So I stayed there doing both. And the reason was I didn't want to leave my boys.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to leave them. And then it just became, I finally kind of decided, hey, look, man, the way I could really help these families out is go make a bunch of really great money and then give back to this place. And so 2 of my boys are still very close to me. And then I've done a relationship now, not there, but another place where I sponsor boys that are in environments like that.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because now I've attracted dudes like Ken Shamrock was on my show, the UFC fighter. He grew up, a group home changed his life. So like there's been these other guys that kind of come into my life and we've partnered up on some of these ventures to help with people that are in homes like that.
How cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
How did the financial thing come about?
My best friend's dad growing up. So another life happens for you. I had my best friend growing up came from the good family.
One of those friends.
You know those guys, like their parents really loved each other. No one was drunk. They ate dinner together every night. Everyone was like, I love you, you know. They hugged each other, like completely different than my house. And so this was the good family. You know, I love going over their house. Their dad was just this nice, quiet man. My dad's the greatest dude in the world, but was loud and yelling, and, you know. So that guy had started in the financial business, and he always believed in me too. And he had left his career to do it. And he called me and said, hey, I think I know what you're going to do with the rest of your life. This is cut out for you. It's kind of like baseball, but it's business. You can compete, and it'll take advantage of your ability to, you know, talk and all this other stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went down and I did it for like 4 months and quit. And then
Why'd you quit?
I just stopped showing up because it was commission. I just literally stopped returning phone calls. And this man, I didn't know, but he was going broke too. And this man believed in me. He would write me a letter every month, handwritten letter every month. I still believe in you. I know you're coming back. It's amazing. Things are going great. You were born for this. Next month on his letterhead, hey, Eddie, blah, blah, blah. And I got these letters for like 18 months. Wow. And what I didn't know is he was draining his 401k. I didn't know he was going broke, but he believed in me. He kept writing me these letters. And I'm telling you, dude, every single month he believed in me. And finally goes, why don't you come back? And there was this big event out in the desert, like a big, like motivational event that we've all been to something like that before. And I didn't go. And he knocked on, I remember, this is no joke. You're not going to believe me, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I was laying in my swim trunks on my dad's couch. Watching Maury.
I knew it.
And the door knocks. I open the door, and it's Steve at the front door. He goes, hey, let's go. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, we got the event in La Quinta in Palm Springs. I go, I ain't going to that. I didn't buy a ticket. He goes, I bought you a ticket. Go upstairs, pack a bag. Let's go. Carol, his wife's in the car. I go up. 20 minutes later, I get in the bed. I only went because I respected him.
Yeah.
But he'd been writing me these letters. I'm in the back of the car, and for like 2 hours driving out there, this man's telling me how much he believes in me and how I'm going to change the world and I'm going to win. We go to the hotel to check in. It takes like an hour in the lobby. He's gone to get me my room. He finally comes back and gives me the keys, and he goes, here you go. And I said, okay. He goes, be at the gala tonight at 7:00. And I said, where are you guys staying? He goes, oh, a little confusion. We're going to stay somewhere else.
He gave you his room?
I found out maybe 2 years later, he and his wife slept in their car. Bro, they slept in their car and gave me the room. And it was at that event that I heard a couple speakers, and I went, this is what I'm going to freaking do. And it altered my business life and by the way, thousands and thousands of other people's lives. And this man who wrote me the letter every month, this man who believed in me, that told me the whole drive out there, who was going broke. And the reason that he didn't get a room is his credit card bounced. And he spent the hour on the phone with the credit card company to get them to extend him just enough credit to get me a room. Wow. And his name's Steve Adams. And so he changed my life, slept in that car with his wife, believe it or not, for those 2 days. And that altered my life. Yeah. And so I had someone, so the next level was I had someone who believed in me, who mentored me, and I wanted to live up to his belief in me.
Yep.
So.
Wow. What do you think you really connected with at that thing? Like, do you remember what the thing was that like lit your match?
Yeah, I do.
What was it?
There was a dude who reminded me of me speaking.
What way?
He was from Boston.
Yeah.
I was in LA. Yeah. This dude got up, he's gone now, but he got up and spoke, and I was like, hey, if that, literally, here's what it was. It wasn't inspiring.
Yeah.
I was like, excuse my language, but I'm like,
Please.
If that motherfucker can do it, I can do it. Yeah. Because I know how he grew up. He grew up like me. Yeah. That dude's just like me. And I remember thinking, if he can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. And like, that's why people think, well, I can't be inspiring. I'm not a great speaker on stage like you. I don't have big old muscles. I'm not rich. What's inspiring is the fact that you are afraid of shit and you do it anyway. That inspires way more people than just words some stud says. And so he wasn't a great speaker. He wasn't incredibly powerful. Just the fact of who he was and what he had accomplished, where he came from, moved me. People don't get that your story and you overcoming what you're afraid of is way more inspiring than any perfect speech somebody gives. And so that's what it was. It was this one dude. His name was Richard. I watched him speak. It was 2 days of speakers. I couldn't tell you who anybody else who spoke. This dude was in the middle. Wasn't some keynote. Kind of fat dude, you know. And I went, oh, man, if this dude can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I decided.
How fascinating. I'm fascinated by it just takes that one thing.
Brother.
And you don't know.
And by the way, he doesn't get me. If he doesn't show up at my front door, I don't go, right? Like, man, hey, no one gets to where they are in life alone. And the people, by the way, the mistake people, oh, well, I don't have anybody helping me or mentoring me. Hold on a minute. Let's be honest. I got to a damn meeting and decided to do it. That's just when the work started. Okay. Like they didn't send me hundreds of millions of dollars because I liked this guy's speech. Right. So don't give me that you don't have anybody helping you thing. Right. I actually go to work and do some stuff. So
yeah, man. And I think that the one thing is that like the help isn't as far away as people think it is, right? It's like you kind of, are people going to just come knock on your door and help you? Probably not, right?
No.
If you're doing anything, if you're literally doing anything, showing good intention, getting the ball rolling, building the next, making steps, you will be shocked at the amount of people that come to help you.
So true.
Like, it's crazy to me. That's because I get that a lot too, is the help and people don't have the resources, and hey, just send me $20,000. That's my direct messages look like, right? on Instagram. And they can cure cancer for $20,000.
Right. I heard that too. I think I got the same one you got.
Yes, but
But you're right. Like, did you have someone help you? You've had people help you
Of
along the way, right?
course.
And you know what I found out? Like, people don't ask.
Yeah.
People go, hey, I don't want to bother him. I don't do that. Like, well, here's what would bother me. You ask me and you are doing jack nothing first. Like, if you're showing me you're trying, you're taking action, you're taking, you're taking initiative, I want to help you. Now, if you're just standing still going, hey, I need some inspirational words, or I can't help you steer a parked car. You got to be moving, right? But nah, man, people don't ask.
Yeah.
You know why they don't ask? Because I don't mean this negatively, but like, people don't want to ask you what to do because they don't really want to do it. The ones who ask are willing to work. Typically, I want to help them anytime. I even respond on direct messages on Instagram. If it's a good question and you're really moving, I'll help you.
100%. But the amount of messages I get, they're like, hey, put me on.
Yeah.
That's the most popular one.
Is it?
Yo, put me on. All right. What's that mean? You know what I mean? But I get it. All of these things are bottled up into that first step. All of the fear of failure, all the vulnerability, all of the hard work, getting off that couch. It's hard. Yeah. It's just like, man, the key is right over that little hill.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Well, what it is that you're right. If I can just add to that, like, here's the big trick that if you're a religious person, the devil's doing it to you. If you're not, it's just a flaw in your thinking. And here's what it is. They convince you you're much further away than you really are. People think they're miles and miles and miles away. People lack vision. It's not they don't see themselves winning. It's depth perception. They think they're further away. There's like this really thin veil, man, between failure and winning. It's very thin. You're far closer to winning. Trust me, no matter how broke you are, no matter how you're far, far, far closer to winning than you think you are. Because you think you're so far away, you behave like it. Your pace is that way. Successful people, they're just in a faster pace. They're in a bigger hurry. They're after it more because they don't think success is so freaking far away. People go, I'm pacing myself. It's a marathon. I'm like, yeah, but here's the deal, dude. Like, the rest of us are sprinting the whole race.
Yeah.
So it is 26 miles. It is long, and I'm running full speed.
Yeah.
And you not running full speed are going to get smoked.
And damn it, when you get running, it's fun, man. You want to talk about addiction? Like, moving forward and making progress is fun as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is so addicting. A lot of people ask me, like, what do you think flipped your switch from Ohio to this? I'm like, to be honest, I don't know why exactly, but I got a taste that I could be more. And I got addicted to that taste. You know, like when my eyes open that you can actually accomplish things that you never thought you could. Damn it, I want that every day. I want to figure out how to get a piece of that every day.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I think people, man, I love how you talk.
Thank you, man.
I do. I love how you think. I can't wait to interview you, but I do. And I think that here's the other thing. You were willing to start taking action before you were totally ready and before you knew everything. The other thing is, like, when you start talking about help and mentoring, people go, well, that's my problem. Like, I just don't know. And the fact is, like, you didn't know everything starting this. You didn't know half of it. Like,
I didn't know shit.
Right. You get the thing is, the people that win, they're like willing to jump in. Like, there's nothing. By the way, preparation's huge. You should get as prepared as you can. But like, the fact of the matter is, the people that I know that win, they constantly throw themselves into really uncomfortable, unknown situations and rely on either their faith or their ingenuity or their resilience to get them through that phase. Not, oh my God, I don't know something, then I can't take action. There's a whole bunch of crap you don't know. By the way, there's so much stuff you don't know that you don't know. You're going to be amazed when you get there how much you don't know.
And it's so fun to learn it. I always say
that's
the
right.
most thrilling part we always remember is when the final time after all the crashes, you wobbly rode down the street on that bike.
So fun.
That was the thrilling. That's the moment you remember, right?
So true,
You don't remember
brother.
the next day when you were flawlessly riding the bike around the neighborhood.
It's so true.
Like, I want to live in the wobble.
Yes,
you know,
brother.
of
Me
like,
too.
Oh, we're getting, you know.
I love the wobble.
it's so
it's funny you
good.
say this. Like, I got to tell you, like, and here's the other thing for people who have had a little bit of success. Why do so many people stall out a little bit, right? And it's the same analogy. My daughter, it's so funny. My daughter didn't learn to ride a bike till she was like 10. I'm embarrassed to tell you. And so finally she's like, Daddy, everyone at school knows how to ride. I said, let's go ride a bike. And I got her going finally, and she got out of the wobble, and then the bike was moving, and she stopped pedaling. And she didn't in her mind know that it didn't have a motor. Like, you have to keep pedaling or the bike will start to wobble again, right? And the same thing happens in business with people. They do get it going. They do get out of the wobble phase, and they stop pedaling.
Ah, you're right. Damn it, you're right.
They stop pedaling, man. It's like, hey, dude, keep pedaling. You're not there yet. I see so many people get it off the ground. They're making a little bit of money. They get it going. They stop. Like, this thing's got no motor, man. You have to keep pedaling or it's going to wobble again. You don't have this wired yet. And that's the difference. Even in this different stages of you building your company, me building mine, it's like, hey, man, you got to keep pedaling. And that's, my daughter didn't get you fell because you stopped pedaling. And all my friends that have their business going, and then it goes backwards, I'm like, let's be real. You stopped pedaling somewhere along the line. You got to pedal faster.
Damn it, way to take an analogy and just You know what I mean? Shit. Because that's life, man. Like, there's been the moments when I can remember being the unhappiest were directly after stopping pedaling, right? And it's like everyone has this vision of life that you sort of, to keep in the analogy, you work your ass off, you fall, you wobble, you take off, and you coast.
Yes.
And everyone's waiting for that coast moment. You know what I mean?
All the juice is in the chase.
Yeah.
That's where all the juice is. I'm the most unhappy every time I stop pedaling.
Yeah.
And like we keep thinking, well, once I get there, then I get to stop pedaling.
Absolutely.
You know, but pedaling isn't just money. Pedaling's more memories, more experiences, more fun, more love, more joy, more laughing your ass off, right? Like more contributing, like the next level. Like I don't want everyone goes, when's enough, man? They really mean like money or whatever, like because your success makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like, look, like enough laughing, enough fun, enough traveling, enough experiences, enough ecstasy. Like never, dumbass. Like I'm never gonna stop pedaling.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop.
Well, that's fucking perfect. So then after that conference, is that when you went back into the financial stuff?
I did. I quit the group home. I went back home. I went and sat my boys down, which was, I can't even talk about that, so I won't. But I did sit my boys down, and still, and I went full time. And my first year, I made $26,000 and spent about 60. And that was real scary, brother.
Yeah.
And then I think the second year I broke even. And about didn't take, you know what? In the third year, I'll tell you, I think the third year I made $100,000.
Really?
And back then, that was a lot of money back then. And then just tons of pitfalls. Then I had a situation where like I made some stupid moves and stopped pedaling, and then my house got foreclosed on. I remember our house just got foreclosed on. I moved my brand new wife into an apartment, right? And like now we're living in an apartment. And I'm like, I can't believe I've lost my house, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm pretending to be successful. I'm really broke. And she comes out. She had to go to work to support us. She comes out. She goes, my car's gone. I'm like, oh, my God. Now on top of the foreclosure, her car gets repoed. Or her car gets stolen, right? Turns out it wasn't stolen. It was repoed. And then power got turned off. You can have everything turned off. You've heard me say this before. The worst thing that's ever happened to me in terms of my life is when the water got turned off. We had our water turned off. That sucks because you can't bathe. You can't cook. My wife and I would go down in the morning, newlyweds. We lived in an apartment complex, freezing cold, and we'd shower in the apartment pool. You know those little pool showers? No door, freezing cold in the morning, and I'd just hold a towel up to protect her, and she'd shower, and then we'd both freeze our asses off and go back. I was just completely shamed, just totally ashamed. And so I had tons of setbacks along the way, and I had to pick myself back up again. And get after it again and get pedaling again. And there's enough experiences I had where every damn time I thought I made it and I stopped pedaling, boom, the other way. And I'm like, okay, I guess this pedaling thing is for life.
This is the key.
This is the key.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think got you back up after that crash? Like, was it that same seed in your brain just still fighting? You knew that wasn't it?
I knew that wasn't it. Yeah, I knew that wasn't it. But I think there's a mechanism. I'll just tell you, man. Because I'd love to give you a better answer. I'll give you the real answer, even though I'll give you the real answer. One, because I'm a person of faith, so I'm just going to tell you straight up from my perspective. For me, during that time, I think God picked me up and put me on his shoulders a little bit. It's a little bit of a blur, brother. And I woke up and I'm like, wow, we're moving again. And this sure as heck wasn't me. So I have to give so much credit to God on that. Now, what did I do, though? So there's some people listening to like, okay, get past the God thing. So tell me what you did, right? So the first one is I will tell you it was God. But number two is this. I think people that wait around for inspiration and motivation lose. And I just went to work. And so the separator, and you know this because you've already had days like this, the separator between the people that win and lose isn't who's more inspired or motivated. The people that win can work when they're not. I worked when I wasn't motivated. I worked when I wasn't inspired. I worked when it wasn't there. And that's when your habits, your rituals, and your disciplines take over. Here's the change I made. I was so bummed out. I'm like, I need to get a hold of my damn life. And I started to get, I have an audio on this that's free that anybody can listen to on my podcast. It's my morning routine. I literally went, I need to start to control my life a little bit. And so I thought, man, if I could control the first 30 minutes of my day and control the last 30 minutes of my day, there's some predictability of the middle at least. Because what I was doing was waking up every morning depressed, worried, stressed, crap. So I now, and it serves me to this day, I have a 30-minute routine I do every morning when I wake up. Because I'm not that good. I am lazy.
Can you give me the Cliff Notes of it?
The Cliff Notes is I wake up, and give you basic stuff. I wake up and I hydrate. I drink a bunch of water because we're dehydrated. So I pound a bunch of water. Then I do something cold. really cold.
That's
So
the worst. I'm trying to get good at that, man, but that
brother,
shit sucks.
it sucks. And
It's
so
so
I
bad.
live on the ocean now, so I jump in the ocean. I live beachfront. I don't live on the ocean. Sounds like I live on water. I also live lakefront. So I do something cold. And by the way I'm different is you freeze your ass off. I get warm right after that. Otherwise, you'll catch a cold. But I do something cold water on my face, cold air, cold something. Fight or flight kicks in, cellular activity, bam, I'm awake, right? Like alive. So I do something cold. And for me, I do some prayer or meditation time. I do some stretching and I do a breathing exercise. And then typically I get ready for my workout and I work out. I move my body first thing in the day. I eat or work out, one of the two, depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I eat first, sometimes I work out first. I do not, here's the biggie, and I don't do it. I don't check my phone the first 30 minutes of the day.
That's so big.
Hardest freaking thing in the world because on that phone was mainly my problems and what I need to be worried about. And it was hard at first. Now it's easy. I just don't check it. My phone is not next to my bed anymore. I moved it across the room and I don't see it for 30 minutes. It altered the freaking direction of my life. I'm telling you.
That
and then the
one
last
thing.
30 minutes, I do the reverse. I do something warm. I take a sauna, I take a hot shower, hot bath, hot something, hot towel, pray, meditate, stretch. I read my reflection of my goals from the day for my life at that time. I review my next day, so my reticular activator goes to work on it. And I don't watch TV or look at my phone 30 minutes before I go to sleep at night because there's a thing called blue screen that happens to your brain. So, and you know what? It's helped me control the middle of my day. And by the way, it's just a promise I can keep to help my self-confidence.
Yeah, it's so true. I've been really working on that the last, really, to be honest, the last year. And man, is it effective. And it's like, I notice now, because I would say I'm in the place now where I'm able to do it pretty frequently and pretty on point, whatever. But now the next goal is like when I travel. I haven't figured out how to manage it when I travel.
It's more difficult when you travel.
Yeah, and so when I travel, man, it just throws me. But that is what has been showing me. I don't travel that much, so that's what's been showing me like how important it is.
Yep, it is.
know?
The travel part doesn't bug me. It's time change.
Yep.
When I get a time change, it messes with me a little bit. But it's like it's all people like there are clues. Like if someone wants something specific, I'm just telling you. If you can control the first 30 minutes of your day, you control the last 30 minutes. Your life's going to change over 36 months, man.
Yeah.
It just does.
That's so true.
Yeah.
What was the business, or is the business? Was it all the same business? Like, what were you doing in the financial?
The name of my company is World Financial Group. It still is, and so it's a financial services, heavy duty recruiting financial service. We help the families that were like the parents of my boys, middle income people with their financial stuff, and so I'm real proud of it. And Transamerica was an acquirer of it a number of years back, and I'm real proud of the people. Why I like our company, I'm not pitching my company. The reason I like it is we recruit real people to help real people. And so our people aren't gurus or experts to begin with. They're like, hey, man, I was in debt. I didn't know what I was doing with my savings. I didn't know how to get my kids in college. This company taught me something. Now I'm teaching you. So it's kind of an educational thing. And then from there, being there, I started speaking on stages. Then I'd meet these different guys. And then through golf, frankly, I started to meet all my mentors. So that's, I've got to know Tony and Phil Knight and all these other guys that have sort of taken me under their wing a little bit. And it's branched into real estate, and I own multi-unit real estate and different real estate stuff that I've done. So I've just branched out from that. But my love, my passion business-wise is still WFG, still my number one.
And that's essentially back in that time, that's what you were, those were the beginning blocks of starting to build that.
Yeah.
Man, how exciting.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been doing the same thing for 25, 30 years.
Yeah. When did it turn around? When did the cold showers holding up the towel for your wife? When did that start to turn around?
I made early. I made my first. You want to know the details? I made my first $1 million in a year when I was 30.
Yep.
And then I made.
Was that how far after?
So that was like 7-8 years
after the crash.
After the crash.
Got it.
Yeah, 7-8 years. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, 30. I made $1 million. 32. I made $2 million. 40. I made my first 8-figure. Take home I'm talking about, right? Like personal income. And then I'd owned a bunch of real estate and stuff. And so from a financial standpoint, my life, here's the bottom line. It probably took me 8 years before I showed anything. So, right, I started in my early 20s. By the time I was 30, I was starting to show something. Because in the world today, if you really want to get wealthy, people go, oh, I'm a 6-figure earner. Man, that was a big deal in 1982 when you could buy a house in California for $150,000. A crappy house in California is $1.5 million bucks now, right? So make it 6 figures. You are not financially successful yet, right? And all you got now is you got a BMW instead of a damn Honda, and you got the same money saved you had before. The key for me was I saved some money. And my dad gave me good advice. My dad's like, only invest in crap you understand or control. So I bought real estate and I invested back in my own business. And then in the financial products that WFG sells, I bought, I own all of those. So, or I don't own all of them. I own the ones that were suitable for me.
Yeah, I think that what happens to a lot of people, and correct me if this isn't kind of how you see it, is like you almost get that first taste of success and you go too hard.
You do.
And you're like, I'm rich, I made it, I'm a genius, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a crash that happens.
Bro.
And then it's a dig out of that. And then that's, if you're lucky and if you make it and if you're smart and work hard, that's the real success. But it almost seems like it always follows that.
Brother. Amen. Entrepreneur, man, I call them false starts. Like it's like a jet taking off, right? It's like it just starts to get altitude, boink.
Yep.
Just starts to get. So the key thing for me was like, you got to, sounds like pedaling like Fred Flintstone with your jet, but like you got to keep pedaling to get that thing to real altitude, because there is a point in business, there is, where you get to a cruising altitude, so to speak, where you could slow down, but the crash isn't imminent, right? And like the problem is when you're a beginning entrepreneur, that crash is imminent, man. You can have 2 good years and boom, 1 year wipes out 2 good ones, right? Or 3 or 4 or 5 good ones. And so, yeah, there's tons of false starts as an entrepreneur, which is why, like I tell entrepreneurs, man, live below your means. Don't try to look so damn rich so early, right? Like you're not impressing anybody with squat. I made $400,000 one year, and we lived in a $700 a month apartment. And I just stacked it away because I wanted to be rich more than I wanted to look rich, right? I wanted to save money. For me, I'm a weird entrepreneur. I don't operate well under stress. I don't operate one with when I'm totally broke. And I was broke enough times. I'm like, this time around, I'm saving some of my damn money. This Mercedes is waiting, right? Like we don't have to eat $100 filet mignons at dinner. Like we can kind of like, I'd rather really be wealthy than look wealthy. And you know this from having close friends. The rarest thing is actually a person who's actually really wealthy. There's a bunch of fools who look rich that aren't. I mean,
especially with social media.
Oh my gosh. The more I got close to people, I was like, oh my God, this fool doesn't have, my dad's got more money than this dude. And he never made any money, right? Like, it's amazing to me what people will blow trying to look successful. And you ain't impressing them anyway. They hate on you for having it in the first place. So save your damn money. Save. It'll get, by the way, nothing's more powerful than an entrepreneur walks in and is like, I got some money saved, man. You got some confidence, some swag, some strength, some certainty. It also just helps you make better decisions. You don't have to do anything when you save some money. Save your money.
It's so true. I think the 2 biggest revelations I had were, the first one was, you can do anything, kind of like your moment at that conference, right? Like if this guy can do it, I can do it. I'm surrounded by people that are proof that real people do these things. And then the second one was, nobody has as much money as it seems like they do.
100%, brother.
Like, holy shit.
Well, just right before we walked up here, Ben and I were talking about somebody and myself, and our net worths were published online. I'm proud to tell you my net worth is not as big as people say it is, right? And like, except it's close. But I know some dudes like, you're off by like 99%. Like I cannot get, you cannot imagine how little money people you think that have money actually have. It's so true, which should give you hope. Because if you start saving money, you start putting some money away over the next 1, 5, 6, 7 years, you're legit, man. It's rare to save money. It's rare to have some cash. And cash is king. Don't let anybody tell you that having cash is not a good thing. I'm not saying you should invest cash. I'm not saying you shouldn't. People ask me about debt. I don't like debt. I think if you're going to use debt, it ought to be on something that can appreciate. Debt on things that depreciate, like a meal, like a car, right? That's a waste of money. I will only use debt, because I think debt can be toxic, on things that can go up. I'm only going to borrow money on stuff that I think is going to go up, not on stuff that I think is going to go down.
Let me ask you this. So then, am I missing anything when I say that essentially, I don't mean to oversimplify, but essentially you started becoming successful, you got your wheels going, you built this thing into a successful business. You learned the things. My question is, unless I'm missing anything big there, is, when did you make the transition to like 2018? I'm on social media. I got a podcast. Because we talked. I can tell by the way you talk that like you weren't Instagram storying your whole journey, right? You don't seem like the Snapchat guy. Like, hey, it's me, Ed. Just wanted to let everyone know.
I'm really cool.
Made my first 100,000.
No, not at all. So luckily, I'm old enough, by the way, that most of this stuff predated me too. So during that time, I started to speak on stages, and people started to think I was a pretty decent speaker for whatever reason, which then sort of morphed into mentoring young entrepreneurs. Then it morphed into young athletes, and it mentored professional athletes. And so I've been for 15 years working with people either that want to be successful or that are on becoming more successful or happier. And so about a year ago, Tony Robbins, a friend of mine, he encouraged me last May. So a year ago this month, said, hey, you really ought to get on social media. And I'm like, nope, I like being a private person. I like, I'm introverted. Yeah. I can walk into most places and nobody knows me. Yeah. And he basically was pretty hard on me. He's basically like, that's kind of why you're a loser. Because you say you want to help all these people, but you really don't want to sacrifice anything for it. And I'm like, you know what? F you. Yeah. My son was sitting there, and I said, Max, give me the phone. What's this Insta thing? Yeah. And my dad, he goes, the video has to be under a minute. I'm like, who can say something under a minute? What are you talking about? Yeah. He's like, no, you got to say. I go, why? He goes, Dad, it just has to be less than a minute. And I'm like, all right. And I go, blah, 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 live your dreams. And he goes, I'll make you an Instagram account. That was in May. I had 3 followers. Then I made another one. Then I made another one. Then it was like, then I did my first podcast. Who was my first guest? Tony Robbins. Yep. That kind of helped. Yeah. And so I've had my social media accounts. Forbes just did a thing, which is really silly, but Forbes just did things that I'm the fastest growing business person in the history of social media. And that's not because of me, but because of the people I've been able to bring around me. Yeah. And so it's grown. There's several million people between my website and my podcast. And my podcast, I did the first one with Tony last August, but I didn't really start doing them until like November this year. And then last month, it was the #1 business podcast, which is hilarious to me. So no, I just started doing this, and it's a life change, man. Like my family's even like, what exactly are we doing here? Yeah. My daughter's like, Daddy, are you in a midlife crisis? Like you grew out a beard, you're doing pictures on social media, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in a crisis. Sure. There's probably a version of that.
Selfies. Never heard anybody.
Selfies happening. So I'm no bullshit. This is a true story. You're not gonna believe this is true. Literally, Grant Cardone had texted me. He goes, hey, dude, you need to put hashtags on your posts on Instagram. This was last summer. Yeah. I'm not BSing you. I'm on a boat with my son, and I told my son, this is in May. It's amazing because I get a pretty good engagement. So I said, Max, Cardone says we need to be adding hash browns to our social media. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know, brother. Somehow, if you throw a hash brown, something about hash browns, we need hash browns. So is he saying I need to eat breakfast during the videos? Or like, what is he talking about? I swear to God, my son's, Dad, it's hashtags. I'm like, whatever these are, we need to have them for breakfast when I'm doing the videos. He's like, no, Dad, it's not a tag, or it's a thing you do. That's incredible. I swear to God, dude. This was last summer. And so now I put a video, I get 100 or 200,000 views on Instagram. I'm like, it's crazy that happened. I've done, it's all organic. So I've only I just started doing some Facebook ads, like $2, $3 ads last month. Yeah. But prior to that, I've never done an ad, never done anything like that. It's just kind of grown.
And you think Tony just saw like, you are doing us an injustice?
I don't think it was that deep, to be honest with you. I think it was him encouraging me to push myself, like what we're talking about, and then he sort of described the cast of characters who were in the space already to me, and I think that he felt like maybe that I could contribute some things in addition. I think there's wonderful people in this space, and I follow many of them, and I've had most of them on my show, and I can't wait to have you on. I just think that it's such a great time in the world because there's all of this inspiration and messaging. And you turn on television, what do you get? TV, divisiveness. If you're a certain religion, your enemy's the other one. If you're a certain race, the enemy's your other one. If you're straight, your enemy's gay people. If you're born here, your enemy's people who, everyone's an enemy of somebody, right? And so, but social media, and it has that element too, but then there's this little world where it's like, you can win. I believe in you. Here's some strategies. Here's what you should do in the morning. Here's how you should talk. Here's how you should think. Like, let's be a community. I've tried to build this max out thing. Like, it isn't just me. Like, I want to have other people in there supporting each other, networking with each other, helping each other. Like, build a really great environment where you can ask questions and win. And I think it's absolutely awesome. I had only, when I was your age, Tony Robbins and some cassette tapes or something, right? So and an infomercial. Now there's modern cutting edge, and I still consider Tony to be amazing and a good friend and someone that I admire and that I look up to. But now, and I think he's proud of this. I think he's sort of created a space that now people can take to a new level, right? With modern cutting edge, and he has modern information as well. So I think it's such a great time, and I'm really blessed that it's happened. And it's a life change, though. It is a life change, man. You and I were talking about it. It is different. Like it's it's there's a lot of upside to it,
Yep.
and it's the help you're doing, but you certainly lose. I mean, crap. I mean, you probably have it too. Like I was driving out here, following Ben out here. I mean, someone sees you on the freeway and if their car's drifting towards you as they're filming you. You're like, wait a minute, man.
Yeah.
Like this is weird. You
Yeah.
know? So getting used to that as an introvert.
Yep.
Man, not easy.
It's so true. It is something different. It's literally like it's as if you can't be behind the scenes
No.
anymore.
No.
Like I hate to put it so I was trying to decide, like, should I put it so bluntly? I think it's worth it. Like
Yeah.
you need to connect.
You do.
Like you need to be like they need to be your friend. They need to connect with you. They need to know you. You need to be on their phone every time they check. Like it's nuts. And I think that it's great on the positives.
So
I
do
think
I.
it's really taxing and tiring on the
It's
negatives.
taxing and tiring. Like I tell people, look, you have a business now. For the most part, you got to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get attention, and that means you have to put yourself out there. I mean, like we're talking about interviewing some of the some entertainers that I know you've done this too.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, the managers want to be on the show now.
Mm-hmm.
The
So
behind
true.
the scenes people want to be on the show
So
because
true.
no one's behind the scenes anymore. It
Yep.
seems like, right? So it's just a change, and I'm embraced it. And by the way, totally a blessing because I meet dudes like you, and you make me feel less crazy, make me feel more
Same,
normal.
bro. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It confirms things. Like seriously, man. Like I'll learn things from dudes. Like I am so stealing that skateboard stuff. Like I
Take it.
can't even tell you.
Yep.
And so it's like it's growing me. Like it's and it pushes you too, don't you think?
Absolutely.
And like some dudes listen to this right now, or some women's listening to this, like they really got something that'll help their life. Like
Yeah.
what a wonderful, what an honor.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
So I just got to remind myself of that.
It's so true. What do you think? This is kind of a big question, but what do you think? Because you've done all this stuff. You've built it yourself.
I built it with a team
Well, sure, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
You've
Believe
built
me.
your own life. Let's
Yeah.
say
Okay.
you've mentored people. You've
Mhm.
spoken to people. I'm sure you've had thousands of conversations like this.
Yeah.
What do you think if you could take it all down to the one thing that is most responsible for holding people back from living the life that they want?
Can
to
I give you
live?
two?
Yep.
Okay, I'll give you two. The first one is clarity. They don't know what the hell they want.
Mhm.
They can't tell you what they want.
Mhm. Very true.
They don't. There's no specificity to it at all. So it's actually getting super, super clear on what it is that you want because human beings have this unreal capacity to become incredibly great at something they knew nothing about when they want it. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
My dad's cancer.
Mhm.
He has a thing called liposarcoma. Okay. I did not know what the hell that was 2 years ago.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about cancer. I didn't know what a coma, sarcoma, lipo. I consider myself pretty damn near an expert now.
Yeah.
So I took something that I knew nothing about. It instantly became important to me specifically, and I've got a lot of information about it.
Yep.
So people underestimate their ability when they get specific to become great in one area. You can become great at something when you become obsessed with it. And so it's lack of specificity. I want to be rich. What the hell does that mean? How much money and when, right? Like, or I want to be happier. Why? How? Where? Like exactly what do you want? So that's number one, lack of specificity. And two is their identity. They just don't believe they're worth it. They haven't worked on themselves. The rarest thing in the world, man, is to meet a high identity, self-confident person. Not egotistical. That's egotistical people have no self-confidence and no identity, so their ego covers up for it. I mean, like you, a quiet, humble, reserved, a man who's learning more about himself and kind of understands himself a little bit. Like that's self-confidence.
Thank
right?
you, man.
That's self-confidence, though, right? And so you have a presence about you that you don't need to express loudly, right?
Yeah, I'm
And that's-
thankful because I'm just not a loud guy.
Yeah, and but yet you have tremendous presence,
Yeah,
right?
thank you.
And so for me, the answer is what holds them back is a 100% lack of clarity and specificity, and lack of believing they're worth it and deserve it, and that's their identity. You get those two things wired, you're a force, man. And then like I'll tell you, there's little ripple effects. Like happy people identify what their gift is, their giftedness is. We're all wired with something. Could be your math skills, your communication skills, your nurturing, your engineering mind, your intensity, your passion, whatever it is. You find what your giftedness is, and then you spend your life doing most of the work you do using those gifts. You're a really happy, fulfilled person.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Can I ask you too? Like, I don't know if this will make sense, but I meant to kind of ask you along the way. But I'm curious for you, like using the temperature in the room reference.
Yeah.
How would you judge what your temperature was like if we said high school, college, Maury, motivational speech. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, did yours go up and down,
Yeah.
or was it down and slowly?
I
Like, how do you
For the
see
most
it?
part, no one's ever asked that.
That's
I think
great.
it was certainly a slow. So if we charted it like a stock market,
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
it would pretty much be going up.
Yep.
But there were certainly crashes.
Yep.
And typically those crashes were like I stopped pedaling, I stopped working on myself, I stopped doing something. But no, there were times, and even, honestly, even I'm questioning the last year where mine is in certain areas.
In what way?
Well, I think you have multiple identities. So being honest, so like there's a faith one, if you have that.
Mhm.
There's a money one. There's a fitness one. There's a happiness one. There's a gratitude one. If I were to measure all of mine and you took the happiness one,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I don't think this last year I've been happier.
Really?
It hasn't been on a trajectory upwards. And so, by the way, I'm my own biggest critic, right? But I go, okay. And the reason is that I've entered this new world where it really is a different world, and it's not going. It went, I mean, quick, right?
Mhm.
And I've not utilized all the tools at my disposal in my thinking to max out my happiness level as I've made all these adjustments.
Yep.
And so, and I know what I need to do about it. But so yeah, it definitely can drop, and there's definitely crashes, and don't you feel that way for you too?
I do 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like the worst thing, the way that I kind of look at it is, my temperature was set low, I think, growing up because the expectations, what you're even capable of, is just not there, right?
Mhm.
Seeing what was possible, I started to rise it, right? And I started to follow that rise. And then I think that when I hit a sort of rough, questioning everything patch a few years ago. And I think that the reason why that was so deep for me was because it actually lowered my temperature. It actually hit. That was the only thing that's ever hit me. And it actually hit me and lowered my temperature. And I had to say, wait a minute, this is not, I'm not a loser. I'm not a failure. I'm not going to, I'm going to learn the proper tools, the proper way to live the life that I want to live. And that let me raise it back up.
Yep.
Right? If that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Because I think once you have accomplished, you kind of come up with a little bit of a recipe of how you do things. And I think that gives you the confidence to know you can put it together.
Yeah.
And so as I have dropped, like I just told you, it's different. Here's where it is different. My happiness level hasn't grown this year enough like it needs to. But it's not that I don't believe it won't be remedied. Whereas before I'd wonder, can I?
Yep.
I'm not at a stage in my life anymore where I wonder whether I can do things.
Yeah.
For me, it's a matter of whether I will and whether or not I put together the right recipe and combination. I have this audio I have called Unlocking Your Success Code. And it's just got like a code for your success. And for me, there's a code to changing my happiness level. And there's just not that many people in this space who've had happened to me what's happened. And so I don't have that many people I can rely on. Like, how did you navigate your life when all this stuff changed, right? And so I have to add some new associations to change that thermostat.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But I will say, it sounds like your actual thermostat hasn't necessarily changed. You just feel that you're not matching.
It's not.
You just got a little bit of cold air, a little cold breeze.
I'd say that's exact. And by the way, that's how I would like other things in my life are like off the charts, right? My fitness this year, I could be more fit. If you look at pictures, I've been more fit before, right? So like that area, I got to do some real digging there and go. And then on the happiness level, there's just, so it's like, I always love to be like totally transparent with people. Like we're off camera, like, hey dude, this is a lot, might as well tell you on camera, like this is a lot. It's a transition. Like there's this part of every human being, when you start something new, you're like, it wasn't so bad before.
Yeah.
And then the people around you are like, wasn't it kind of good? Like even if you had a job that was really good and you left it to go start a business, let's say, there's a part of you that goes, it wasn't so bad before.
So
right?
true.
Right? And so, and then if you have people around you going, hey dude, it wasn't so bad before. Well, now I'm doing this.
Yep.
And people around me and me's like, because it's what day of the week is it right now?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Yep.
There'd be a lot of Tuesdays around this time. I might right now be having a nice shot of tequila looking at the ocean, right?
Oh yeah.
And so there's this part of me that's like, and you got to guard against that. If you're going to go to the next level, like it was pretty good before. No, if it was pretty good before, I wouldn't be here right now. And so I'm capable of more than that. So that's the thing that kind of tugs you back is where you were before will pull you back. It's like, I'm going to give you one analogy. I call it the undertow of life. So I live on the ocean, and when the water comes in, that wave comes in, what happens? That's a great wave in your life that you're riding, right? What happens right after the wave hits? It crashes, and then the undertow tries to pull you back where you came from. That's life. You're riding this great wave. You're moving forward. There's going to be a little bit of a crash, and then the undertow of life tries to pull you back where you came from before. And it's a pretty powerful force if you're not aware of it. The key thing in life is that you ride these waves, and they get you closer and closer and closer to the shore every time. That you said earlier, progress. So that's the key.
So true. You want to know what else I've noticed is there's a bit of, I haven't exactly pinpointed it yet, but there's a bit of like, okay, if I'm Chris and I'm living my life and everything's okay, I got this business, everything's good, but I decide I want to start a podcast. I start getting into it, and man, it's fun, but it is hard to book guests, and it is okay. Oh no, I'm having fun, and but we got to get new mics, and yeah. I'm in that phase. I am old Chris that's now doing a podcast, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I feel like there's almost like a habit creation issue here,
Yes.
where eventually you're just a podcaster. You're a person that does a podcast, and you kind of get over the pain. It's like working out.
Yep.
Like I started working out, I think it was 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
No, I'm tripping. 12 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm just getting past the part of I just started working out. Like this shit sucks
You just did
every
it.
time.
You just did. It's been
You
12
know?
weeks. You said 6.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You really think you just started?
Yeah. So my point is like it's still painful every day. You know, it's still like
It's
old
not.
Chris.
It's not
working
part of
out.
your identity yet, and
Yes.
that's why our identities are we're podcasters now.
Yeah.
It's also an example of like when you do become something becomes important, you become expert at it. Like I didn't know what Libsyn was a year ago, where I host a podcast.
Now
I didn't
I'm sick of it.
You know what I'm saying? Like now I know all these things. I didn't know anything. I didn't know about mics. I didn't know about shooting. I didn't know how. I didn't know what's. You're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm like Spotify. How the hell you get on Spotify? You know, like so. There's all these things. Now it's important to me. I become good at it, and that's human beings have the capacity to get good. I knew nothing. I thought you put hash. I thought good Instagram posts required eating breakfast in front of them. A year ago.
Yeah, look how far you've come.
It's so stupid. Shows you what an idiot I am.
Incredible. This is a big one that I like is of all these ups and downs, do you have a favorite mistake or a favorite failure or a favorite time that you thought maybe life was happening to you or that everything was all over or whatever, and now you look back on it very fondly?
Yeah, I've got a few. I had, to my own fault because I was a dick, I had my first real group of dudes that partnered with me in business. Both were best men in my wedding. I was pushing them too hard, and they quit my business on me. I could not believe it. I mean, you talk about a crash. Like any of you that have a partnership, imagine your two partners walking in and going, "Hey, dude, we're out." And you know what? You're the reason we're leaving. You're a dick, right? And so they left, and we're all really good friends now to this day. But they left, and one of them's back actually working with me now, and I think the other one might come back. But it happened. It was horrible on so many levels because it hurt my business. But then my friends, my best friends, right? So it was like, wow. Now that happened for me because like right after that, my wife got pregnant with my son. And then my son was born. And I remember when my son was a baby, I remember one time thinking, if anybody ever spoke to my son the way I've talked to people, you know, I was just so hard and demanding and not ruthless. I've always been fair. I've always been ethical and honest. But I didn't know, I had no tact, no patience. I talked to everybody like they played baseball for me instead of they were human beings. Like everything was the locker room. And so I thought that everyone wanted to be talked to that way. And so it was a huge learning experience for me. People think, oh, you know, you're really this nice, humble guy now. Well, I've been humbled, right? Like life has humbled me. And so I made some really huge mistakes in the way that I talked to people, not treated them, just talked to them. I was too harsh and critical. And you can't really push a human being past as fast as they want to go. And I just thought, what the F is wrong with you, dude? Let's win now. Let's go, right? Some people are like, hey, man, this is cool for me right here. And I'm like, you're a loser. What's wrong with you? You know. And so it helped me be it prepared me to run a better business, but it also prepared me to be a much better father. Because if I talked to my children the way I was talking to business people, I'd have two screwed up kids who resented me just like my two best friends did. And so it kind of stopped there, man. It wasn't like that was a bottom. Like, I'm going to stop. I had to be aware and go, I'm wrong here. They're not wrong. I'm wrong. Like 100% me. And wow, what a jerk I am. And it was the first time in my life, honestly, in the business, I was like, you know what? I make mistakes. Like, it was like a flat out, blatant, abundantly stupid mistake that I made. And so I've changed, and that was a long, long time ago. I've just changed the way I speak to people.
Yep.
It was a huge one.
That's huge. Last one.
Okay.
If you could go back to childhood Ed,
Yeah.
I always try to pick a time. I'll say scrawny little Ed holding that sign. And he's giving all his muscles he's got to hold that sign up. And, you know, his childhood's a little stressful.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what dad's coming home tonight,
Yeah.
if you could tell that Ed for 2 seconds, just put your hand on his shoulder and you
Yeah.
say, listen, Ed.
Yeah.
And something to just take the edge off and something to just help with a lot of wasted time and pain. What would you tell little Ed?
I know for sure what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would tell him he's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell him, hey, man, you're enough.
Yep.
And
Dude.
see, there's this like really interesting combination in life between wanting to grow and get better and knowing that you're in this moment for you. And I don't mean to be like new agey or anything. You're enough. Like, especially women, they get messaged all the time, man. You're not thin enough. You're not this. Don't be, if they're too demanding, they're like a diva, you know, like you're never enough. Like being a mom, being a sister, being a businesswoman, same with men. And so I'd go back to the little guy and go, hey man, you're enough. You know, it's going to be okay, man. You're enough. Cause I was always not enough. I was always not tall enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, you know, and people go through their whole lives. You go, what are you great at? They can name like one thing. What's wrong with you? They can name 100.
Yeah.
And so I'd go back and say, you're enough. That doesn't mean to prepare me for the next moment. There doesn't need to be a better version of me because I have this obsession. Okay. And this is like why I'd go back to him. I think from the day you're born, there's a chase. And I think that at the end of your life, whether it's 10 years or 100 years, you're going to meet the person you were born to be. You're going to meet the destiny version of you. I really do believe this. I'm obsessed with it. Okay, this is me right here. I'm obsessed with the fact that someday when I die, I'm going to meet the man I could have been. So the people I could have helped, the places I could have seen, the things I could have done, the things I could have accomplished, right? The different moments of my life and memories. I'm going to meet that dude. I'm obsessed with chasing him down. I swear to God. I'm obsessed with chasing him down. And when I get there and I want to meet him, I think the perfect end of a life is you meet that person and they're your identical twin. Yeah. And they go, hey,
just
man. A mirror. The horrible end of a life is you meet each other and you're total strangers. You don't recognize each other. They went down completely different paths and roads, and you never became the person you were born to be. You never helped the people, contributed, saw the places, did the things, experienced the things in your life that you were capable of. And so I'd go back to that little boy and go, hey, man, you're enough. Yeah. You're enough to get it done. Now, to get to that next version of you, you got to grow and improve. But in this moment, in this time, in this place, in this classroom, in that lunch line, you're enough. If I go back to the me who was laying on the couch, you're enough. When I walk into the group home, you're enough, right? When I got on my first stage and blew my first speech, you're enough, right? And even now, if I could give me advice, I'd say, hey, man, you're enough, right? Now, to get to that next level, you need to grow and improve, but that doesn't mean you're deficient now. Everything you need to win, to be happy, to be successful, to be fulfilled is within you right now. That's what I would tell me.
And that, my friends, is how you end a podcast. Ed, listen, man, from one introvert to another, this is a dream podcast for me because I was a little introverted coming into it. I didn't know you. Didn't know what to expect. Yeah. And damn it, am I fired up and motivated now. So I can't thank you enough.
My honor, brother.
Where do people find you? Tell them where to find your podcast, your
Instagram
with your hash browns.
Your hash browns, all the hash browns you can get. EdMylett.com. It's MYLETT. So you spell my last name. You go to Instagram or my podcast, YouTube channel, my website. Just spell Mylett right, and you'll find me.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ed, I owe you one, man. Thank you so much.
My honor. You are. You're gonna be on my show.
Oh, you're right. Damn it. All right. Thank you, brother.
Bro, your style is unique.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I've really tried to kind of refine it.
Well, you're just a world-class listener.
Yeah, and you want to know what it is? I think I think what I can build on is
The hardest part is figuring out what
I really want to know. You know, it's not a show.
I know,
it's not like,
too.
okay, give me your 10 rules of success. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm genuinely curious.
Guys, if you like that and you want to see more like it, as well as vlogs, other web series, and all the random stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You won't regret it, I promise.